Okay, great. So my name is Lindsay Crawford, and today I'm going to be presenting to you all on time management. Okay, so first off, what is time management? Right, since we all get the same 24 hours in a day, why is it that some people can achieve so much more in their time than others can? The answer usually lies in time management. So time management is defined as the process of organizing and planning to divide your time between specific activities. Good time management allows you to work smarter, not harder, so that you get more done in less time, even when time is tight and pressures are high. And failing to manage your time damages your effectiveness and often causes a lot of stress. So by using time management techniques, you can improve your ability to function more effectively, again, even when times are tight. So it's important to remember that being busy isn't the same as being effective. So having good time management can increase our effectiveness. So here are the things I'm going to go through today. We're going to discuss how to make a plan to get better at our time management. So the first thing we'll go over is getting organized, and then setting goals, creating timelines, setting deadlines. And then we'll also talk about dealing with procrastination, which is probably something we all deal with, how to get rid of some distractions, what common distractions are, a method called the Pomodoro method, and then how we can channel our stress and use rewards to help us maintain our time management skills. So the first thing you should do is get organized. And a good place to start is your course syllabi. So of course, a lot of my examples will be about school since that's mostly what we're here to talk about. But I would start with all of your course syllabi and go through, make sure you know all the basics, right? So write down really important due dates, big assignments that you have to complete, whether that be quizzes or tests. And the more you can write down in the beginning, the less you have to work later, the less you have to keep up with throughout the semester, right? But it's also important to remember that things change throughout the semester. So COVID is a good example. This has caused a lot of changes in classes. So it's important that if you do write all of these assignments down or important things to remember down, make sure that you're keeping up with them. So I would go through your syllabi again, write down big assignments, and make some checklists. You can use a planner, whether that be digital or hard copy. And you can also use a Google Calendar, so that would be the digital version. And I'll show some examples. So here's a daily to-do list. So this is both a checklist and part of a planner. So you can do this day by day, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, the weekend. Or you can do it week by week, month by month, whatever is best for you. But of course, you want to have a list of what you should do every single day. So some people like to have fancier calendars, like on the left, right? We have it day by day for the week. And then we have some priorities, right? Which things do we need to do first? What's the most urgent or the most important? And then some basic to-dos. And then on the right, we have an example of a Google Calendar. So I think Google Calendar, or really any online calendar, can be extremely useful because it can give you reminders to do things, right? So I use both a hard copy and a digital copy. I use Google Calendar and my hard copy planner, and I line them up. So my Google Calendar will alert me if I have a Zoom meeting I want to present in or attend. It'll alert me 15 minutes early so I can get a reminder, right? And that helps you kind of get in the zone, make sure you're on task and have everything you need before that event. So I recommend using both hard copy and digital copy and see which one works for you, which one you like best. Because the planner is only useful if you're actually looking at it, right? So make sure whichever one you prefer, just utilize that one. Next important thing to do is to set goals. So this is probably one of the most challenging parts, but I think it can be broken down into a really simple manner. So if you want to take any notes, this is probably where you'll be taking notes on this lecture. So this is a SMART goal, and SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And if you want to set a goal, it's important to meet these specific goals within it, right? So a lot of people will say, I want to do better this semester, or I want to do all my homework this week. But that's not a super clear-cut, specific goal. So we want to make it as specific as possible. So I'm in the health and exercise science department. So when we talk about goals, it's often about getting healthier. And you've probably, most people have thought this, right? Like, I want to lose weight. That's my goal, right? I just want to lose some weight. But we want to make it way more specific than that. Like, I want to lose X amount of pounds, right? I want to lose 5 pounds. Okay, that's a better goal already. Right? Then we need to make it measurable. 5 pounds is measurable. Okay? And attainable. Is 5 pounds a normal amount of weight? Is that something I can achieve? Yes, that's pretty easy. Is it relevant to my life right now? Is it something I actually want to work on? Do I have time to prioritize this? Yes. And then I would set a time limit. So not just I want to lose weight, but I want to lose 5 pounds within the next 2 months. So you're setting a long-term time limit or a deadline. So when it comes to homework or setting goals for academic goals, you want to start and make sure your goals are focused and identify a tangible outcome. So instead of saying I want to do better on my homework, you can try instead, I will spend 30 minutes a day working on my homework for the next 2 weeks. So it's very specific. It identifies what exactly we want to achieve. It is measurable, so I have some clear definition of success, because this will help you to evaluate achievement and also progress. So if I start off with a goal of studying for 30 minutes every day for 2 weeks, and I have a little check mark, like I did it each day on my calendar. Let's say I missed both Tuesdays, and I can look back at that and see, okay, maybe Tuesday isn't the best for me. So maybe next time I make a goal, I can keep that in mind, right? Maybe I study 6 days a week, except on Tuesdays, because Tuesdays are really busy. Your goal should also be challenging, but still reasonable to achieve. So you don't want to set a goal that's too easy or too difficult. So reflecting on this component can reveal any potential barriers you may need to overcome to realize success. So if you have a goal of studying for 3 hours every single day, you're probably less likely to succeed doing that versus 30 minutes, because 3 hours is a very long time, and most people would not set aside that much time just to study. So make sure it's attainable, it's realistic, but it's also a little challenging. And then the next one is relevant. And this is about getting real with yourself and ensuring what you're trying to achieve is actually worthwhile to you. So if you don't value like doing your homework, for example, or losing weight, then we're probably not going to put in enough time or effort to actually meet that goal. So you need to make sure it's relevant, it's something you actually want to achieve and work on. And then the last one is time bound. And this one is usually overlooked, right? We just want to do better. We want to eat healthier. We want to make an A on our test, but we need to make a specific goal. So every goal needs a target date and something that motivates you to really apply the focus and discipline necessary to achieve it. This answers when. It's important to set a realistic time frame to achieve your goal to ensure you don't get discouraged. So when setting these goals for academia, just make sure, like if you just want to study more or you want to work on this project, make sure you have specific, measurable, attainable, and relevant guidelines. Next thing you should do is to create a timeline. So timelines are very important for your goals and assignments, what have you, so that you have a clear guide of what you need to complete when. This will increase your chances of completing the assignment, since it'll break it down into more manageable parts. And this is especially recommended for larger or scarier assignments. So if you have a large project due, or you just have a large exam or midterm to prepare for, you really want to break it into smaller chunks so that you're more likely to start working towards it. The timeline can be as short as what you need to accomplish today, or it can be a week-long timeline, a month-long timeline. It can also encompass an entire semester or an entire year. Just depends on what you're working towards. But if you are working towards something very long-term, I would recommend making that really long timeline, but then still working within small chunks within that timeline. The next thing we need to set is a deadline. So you also need to incorporate a deadline within any timeline or time management technique we're going to use. This could be the actual due date for an assignment. So if something's due Monday at 8, the deadline could be Monday at 8. But I recommend setting your deadline at least a full day before something is due, just to account for any potential delays. So if you know that your printer is unreliable or you don't have reliable access to a printer, you need to give yourself a day or two to go get it printed. Right? Make sure it prints correctly. Don't print things the morning before class. So make sure that however you deal with deadlines, you incorporate that into it. So if I know that I don't do any work over the weekend, I'm not going to set myself a weekend deadline. I'll set it instead on like a Friday. So think about how you work and then adjust accordingly. Okay, next we're going to talk about procrastination. So procrastination is the bane of every student's existence. We know what we should be doing, we just don't want to do it, right? It's very easy to put off undesirable assignments until the very last minute, but then we're forced to pull an all-nighter full of coffee and snacks, and we're exhausted, frustrated, and usually end up turning in something that does not reflect our best work. So there are many ways to avoid procrastination and even more benefits to kicking the habit completely. So we're going to talk about a few ways to keep procrastination at bay. So the first thing you should do is learn what kind of procrastinator you are. Right? So once you can identify the way that you are most likely to procrastinate, you can consciously avoid doing those activities. So we're going to go through an infographic on the next slide to help determine the ways that you procrastinate. And the key is to not adopting another way. We want to adopt behaviors that tackle procrastination. So I'll pull up the infographic and read a couple of them. And then if you guys want or feel comfortable, I'd like you to type what kind of procrastinator you think you are into the chat. So like I said, I'll just read a couple of these. So the first one we have is a cleaner. So before I start, I need to do some laundry, then I have to sort my sock drawer, organize my music collection, clean up my desk, just so I have room to work. You have a panicker, freaks out, a list maker, an internet researcher, like we're looking at kitten videos, a snacker, a gamer that likes to play games instead of jump to the task, someone that takes naps, someone that gets very sidetracked, maybe somebody goes on social media instead or watches TV. And then we have a delegator who splits up the work between other people. And then lastly, we have the perpetuator. So they say, well, I was going to start 30 minutes ago, but now it's getting a little late, so I'll just start on it tomorrow. Let's see what kind of people we have. We have a gamer, a cleaner, list maker, and you can't be a mix. Yeah, I'm definitely a cleaner, a list maker, and a watcher. Nice, a lot of cleaners. Okay, great. Looks like most people got a chance to share. All right, again, so once we identify the type of procrastinators that we are, if you know you're a cleaner, how should you adapt to that? What you could do is what I like to do myself as a cleaning procrastinator is just keep a regular schedule for cleaning, right? I do laundry on this day, I clean my bathroom on this day, so that I don't subconsciously want to clean to distract myself. So that's a good idea. If you're a social share, we can talk about a way for that later by avoiding distraction, a napper. You make sure you're getting enough sleep regularly so you're not inclined to nap. So a lot of these ways to avoid it are long-term, consistent things you have to work on. Oops. Right. So the next thing we can do, we can click, is to get rid of distractions. So I think we can all agree that our main distraction is probably our cell phone. or a laptop, computer, some kind of technology. And there are a lot of apps out there that can reduce your screen time for you, or at least give you some important feedback on how you use your phone. So some of these apps are free, and there are many more that are listed here. And I have in parentheses the type of phone or device they work on. So some just work for iPhones, some work for both iPhones and Androids, and some you can even put on your laptop. These apps can be very insightful and show you how long you are actually on your phone. Some of them lock certain apps for you for a certain amount of time. So if you want to click like lock Instagram, lock Snapchat from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., then you can't open those apps during that time. Some of them check how often you open the device, how many times you open your phone or open the app, and let you know how long you've been on each individual one. And some of these apps actually compare your time to the normal amount of time spent on it. And some of them, I'll show you on the screen. Like I said, they check how many times you've unlocked it, how many minutes on social media, which apps you use the most, and then your score compared to other people. You can even like challenge your friends to see who can spend less time on their phone during homework or during study time. So I'll go back to the screen because I know there are a lot on here. So some of them are antisocial, space, off time, app detox. Dinner mode is one you use specifically to keep people off their phone during dinner. But a lot of these are really nice. Like I said, some of them are free, some of them do cost, but it's a very low amount, like $1.99, and then you have the app forever. So none of them are very expensive. The next thing we can do is use certain techniques to avoid procrastination. So this is one study method called the Pomodoro technique. And Pomodoro is the Italian word for tomato. And the inventor of this technique named it after a tomato-shaped timer he used to track his work. So the first thing you need to do is identify your task, right? Let's say I have this math homework that I need to complete. So then I'm going to set a timer for 25 minutes. And I'm not going to look at the timer. I'm going to just ignore it until it goes off. Okay? So then I'm going to work on the task with no distractions. You make sure everything's on silent. You have your water or a snack if you need it. And then you're going to work until the timer goes off. Then you'll take a 5-minute break and then move on to the next task. So if I have completed my math homework, I'll start something else. If I'm halfway through, I'll go back to my math homework. And then I'm going to again set the timer for 25 more minutes. So you set the timer, take a small break, set the timer, take a small break. And it's really important during the small breaks to get up and get away from your task, right? So if you're working at a desk, walk to the bathroom or take a lap outside just to get yourself physically away from your workstation. So after 4 sprints or after 4 25-minute increments, you should take a longer break. So this could be somewhere where you eat or just take a short break. Maybe you go to Starbucks and get a coffee. You just need to make sure you're not just sitting the entire time. Make sure you stretch your legs and take a breather. So if you look at the very bottom, we'll have green for the study time, red for the breaks. So green, red, green, red, green, red, long red break. Again, this is the Pomodoro technique, and I think it's really useful. It's a good way to break up things so it doesn't seem so overwhelming. Now, next thing we can work on is channeling our stress. So some stress is good, right? If we didn't have any stress at all, none of us would ever do anything. So we just want to make sure it's acting as a motivator, right? It's getting us to accomplish activities, but it's not overwhelming us. So too much stress can harm your productivity, so it's best to keep it in check. And there are a lot of different ways to do this, and it can depend on your personality, what you prefer doing, what type of procrastinator you are, or how you best deal with stress. So breaking up your work with some like light yoga, some breathing exercises, things like that can be really essential. So as there are a lot of different types of stress themselves, right? There's mental stress, physical stress. There are different ways to deal with stress. So here I broke it up into mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual techniques. So on the mental one, we have reach out to somebody, whether that be a friend, a loved one, your mom, or just reach out and talk something out if you need to. You can read a book or listen to a podcast, talk to a friend, or journal. Journaling can be really therapeutic. Get your thoughts out in a safe place, write out what you're feeling. Next, we have the emotional ways to handle stress. So you can listen to music, you can go see a counselor on campus, right? We have free counseling for students. And one tip that I think is really useful, right, is cry/let your emotions surface. If you're being very mindful, right, it's important to acknowledge your emotions and to let them happen, right? It's not good if you're very overwhelmed to just suppress it further. Just let it surface, then you can start to deal with it in a healthier manner. Another technique people like to use is to color or draw. You don't have to be good at it, right? It's just therapeutic in itself. There are physical tasks you can complete. I definitely tend towards physical ones, like going for a walk is really relieving. If you're tired, you need to sleep, right? Lack of sleep can induce a lot of stress on your body. You can exercise, or you can just practice some deep breathing. And then for spiritual ones, you can do some guided meditation. Lots of free versions of those on Spotify and YouTube where someone just talks you through like some breathing exercises. You could volunteer with a program, or you could go to the animal shelter and volunteer. Again, you can practice your mindfulness, which is really just letting your emotions surface, recognizing them, and then moving on. Or you can talk to a mentor, whether that be, again, someone in your family, a professor, or your academic advisor. So having something to look forward to at the end of your hard work will make you want to get started sooner. So whenever I'm reading for a class, I'll tell myself, let someone in. After I read a certain amount of pages or I finish all my homework for the day, then I can reward myself with something small. So one of the breaks I like to take is to watch a really short episode of something. Like Parks and Rec is really short, right? It's only like 21-minute episodes. So that's a good time for a break. So once I get through this, I'll watch something really quick. So once you have met your SMART goal, reward yourself with something small. Your reward should depend on what you enjoy doing. Right? If you don't enjoy cooking, maybe you shouldn't cook yourself a fancy meal. Okay? So make sure it's something you enjoy doing, but it should also not work against your long-term goals. So again, if we go back to like losing weight, if I eat healthy all day long, I should not reward myself with a piece of cake. Right? So that I eat healthy all day long, eat a piece of cake. Eat healthy all day long, eat a piece of cake. Ultimately, that's going to cancel out a lot of my hard work, and it's not going to help me grow and push my goal even further. So make sure it's not working against you. So if our goal was to work hard all week, get all of our homework complete, stay on top of everything, we don't want to reward ourselves by taking the next week off, right? That'll only put us behind. So just choose something that helps you in the long run. So you should also spread out your rewards so you're not rewarding yourself every single day, right? It can be like bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, or maybe once a month, however you feel motivated. And again, here are just a couple examples of some things you can do. You can make or get your favorite meal. You can spend some time with friends. You could rent a movie or buy a new video game or something like that. Whatever you are geared towards or whatever you're motivated by, try that. It could be a new piece of clothing or some new toy you've been wanting. Right, and then if you need additional help, you can always reach out to the Center for Student Success for a consultation. So you can fill out a request form online, send an email, or send them a call, or stop by the office. And I'll provide the contact information on the next slide. So the new building is located in Johnson Commons East, and I have the website here, the email, and the phone number. And they also are on most social media, so you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube for more additional tips, or if you want to watch this video back since it's being recorded, right? You can always go look at the workshops online. So just to sum up some of the things, and then I think I have one more big point to go over. Make sure that you get everything organized, right? You know what you need to do, have that all laid out, and then set some SMART goals. Make sure your goal is measurable, right? If I spend 30 minutes a day, I can tell whether or not I spent 30 minutes a day, right? If I just say I want to study more, I don't know how I can measure that, right? So it has to have some type of measurement in it, and it has to have a time limit. So I want to study for 30 minutes a day for a week and see how that goes. Then you reflect and change it based on how it went. Create some timelines, a deadline. Deal with your procrastination the best way you can, right? Figure out how you procrastinate and then try to avoid that behavior. Get rid of distractions or your phone. Use some different methods, channel your stress, and use some rewards as you continue. The next thing I want to talk about is I just want to share this video. I can't play the video since we're on Zoom, but you can look it up on YouTube. Her name is Mel Robbins, and she talks about procrastination as a habit. So she discusses how procrastinating is actually a form of stress management. So it is a way to deal with stress. Okay. So she also discusses how you are not a procrastinator, right? You as a person aren't a procrastinator, but you have a habit of procrastinating. So if it's a habit, you can break it, right? And there are 3 parts of a habit. There's the trigger, which is stress, right? Stress is our trigger. Okay? We're overwhelmed by something, or we have homework or a lot of things to study for. So stress is the trigger. And then you have certain patterns, how you respond to the trigger. And this is where you avoid it, right? I'm triggered by stress, therefore I'm going to avoid it. Okay? And then you have some kind of reward. And so in this case, procrastinating, your reward is stress relief, right? I'm stressed by homework, so I'm going to avoid it, and then I feel better because I'm not working on it. Okay? So what we can't change the trigger. We can't change that we get homework or that we have midterms or finals, but we can change how we respond to the trigger. So we can change our pattern. Right? So that's what you will learn if you watch this video. Okay. I also provided my sources here. If you guys want to click back on the PowerPoints when it's uploaded, you can see some of the lists or the apps, the list of apps. All right, and thank you for listening. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to address them, or if anybody has some time management techniques or tips that work really well for them, now would be a great time to share with everybody else. And I'll stop recording in case anybody has any questions.
When will this recording go up?